Hello. Hello, hello, hello. It is Friday. Hey, Terry. Hi, Joan. Hello, Peggy. How are you guys? I hope you're doing well. I hope things are going well. It's Friday here. And it is super sunshiny and beautiful out today. Gorgeous out today, actually. Anyway, hope you guys are doing okay. Hello, Connie. Good to see you. Yes. So it is Friday, and I don't know how long I'll be here, but I'll be here for a little while anyway. Sunny and 63. It is warmer than that here today, which is, it's 75. But tomorrow, the high is 77 and the low is 39. Of course, that's going to be while we're at a football game. It's going to get nice and chilly. Yay! Anyway, all right. Trying to pick up a pen that does not want to be picked up. Okay. So let's get going. I know, I'm taking a blanket with me to the game. And they better let me in with it. They better. Okay, so let us first of all review something that I totally forgot about. This lets you know how crazy life has been the last year and a half, 2 years. I don't know how long. It's been crazy for a long time. Every time I think things have finally settled down, it goes poof, like this again. And so I totally forgot about this that I'm going to show you. I did this last year and I completely forgot about it. Otherwise I could have used it this year. But I completely forgot. And nobody reminded me because I think all of you guys forgot too. Although it doesn't matter. Yeah, so I made this last year. Hi, Rhonda. Good to see you. I made this last year. Any of you remember this? I used a little book that was a hardback book that I took the guts out of. And I put a conglomeration, I covered it with fabric, covered the inside with fabric. I made one signature. It's one signature. The middle is, and it was a whole assortment of papers. This is the middle of it. It even had a gnome theme going on, sort of. Hi, Dorothy. You remember it? Yeah. A lot of these little things were collaged elements that came out of a calendar. They're even a similar style as to what I'm doing this year. Anyway, I went through this. I may have to shed the flannel shirt. It's already getting warm here. I went through this and I added lots of things to lots of pages, but I never did put any Christmas stuff in it. Yeah. So we'll just go through it. We'll just leaf through it. So there's cardstock. There's collaged pieces from the calendar that I did. So there's cardstock, there's watercolor paper, there's drawing paper, there's old notebook paper. So this is real old notebook paper. It is so bright out today that the light is just blowing everything out here today. Let me see. Let's see if we can elevate the book a little bit. Nope. All right. We're just going to come up here. See if we can do it this way. This was from a cookie cutter. Actually, this cookie cutter. And all of this I did in watercolor as opposed to acrylic, which is what I'm doing this year. This was a photograph from one of the mandalas that I used as a Christmas card a few years ago. And this was a little crocheted Christmas tree that came in a Christmas card that we got last year or the year before. I think Elton got this last year from somebody. There's napkins, there's various and sundry things. This was a piece of napkin and then just some gold stars, and this was from a calendar. This was from a stencil. I know, it came from a stencil that I did watercolor in. So you can see I have all the days stamped, but I never did fill it in. That's another stencil. That's another cookie cutter. This is trash from the gold foil stencils. That's what that is, the bottom. This was another Christmas card I did. More gummed stars that I found somewhere. That was something I drew. That was something I drew. This was an article. I think I read this article to you guys at one point. And so I folded it up and stuck it in here. And then just little ornaments, more ornaments. This was napkin, I believe. That was from a magazine or calendar page. This was from a gift, so I put it on here. Hey, Dana. On the big screen. Woo, Dana. This was like icicles. I don't know if that I think that may have come from a stencil, but I don't remember for sure. This was, I think, gift wrap. I think. There's another one of the little gnomes that came from a calendar, and then this was another piece from the calendar. This was gift wrap, I'm pretty sure. This is napkin. I think both of those are napkins. And this, I don't know where that came from, honestly. And this little guy was a collaged, a bunch of different things collaged together and to make him. So I decided to use him again this year. These were from that calendar. So I could have used this journal, but I totally forgot that I even had it. I was going through my journaling bag. I have two journaling bags because I'll outgrow one, then I start on a second one, then I forget that I have the first one. Anyway, I went back and went through the journaling bags to organize my stuff and found this, and I'm like, I'll be darned, I forgot about that. That's another Christmas card. This was just watercolor silly bird. This is several things collaged together from that calendar. So is this. So there's a variety of papers in here. This was just old pieces of old paper, ledger paper, and old text paper and maps and stuff, and turned into snow people. I saw that idea on somebody's stream or something. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't even remember where I saw it. This was a cookie cutter, and I drew in Zentangle designs in pencil, but I only got so far, and I didn't finish it. And there's another little gnome hanging out in a pot. We should probably use him again. And this was just an exercise in drawing different kinds of bows. And then that was for January 1 of 2025. And here we are. A year later. Almost a year later. I know. Now I can just change the date and I'll have it all ready for next year, huh? Right, Rhonda? Anyway, I did that last year and totally forgot. That tells you how much stuff I had going on around here. I know, right? Anyhow. So the word is that my house is closed. And so hopefully it's all done. I hope. I have been waiting to hear today, and I finally just decided I was going to ask somebody because I was tired of waiting. So I did, and I found out that it was closed. Yes. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm also a little bit tired because I think I have been living kind of like this. One long indrawn breath for quite a while. Hey, Kathy, you remember the bells? Good. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so anyway, maybe I can concentrate on some other things now, which will be great. Okay. I was going to show you, so let's move on. I was going to show you some of the things I did this week. When I can't concentrate on whatever, I will do some mundane something, like cut things out of paper, which is what this is. And so I thought I would show these to you. These are wrapping paper. I got it at Hobby Lobby. And it's nothing but trees. That's all it is trees. And so I just sat down with, because I was having trouble concentrating on other stuff the other day, and so I sat down and I just cut out a whole bunch of trees. And so I fringed the bottoms of the ones that seemed like that would be the thing to do. And some of them, like this one was too close to the bottom of the page, so I just cut off the tree stand. See? Okay, Rhonda. Thank you, Joan. Hi, Barbara Clark. But there are all different styles of trees. So, like this one was easy to cut out because it didn't have too much detail. This was kind of the same sort of thing, not a lot of detail. Sometimes they had other little trees poking in on them, and I thought, I'll just ignore that. But I tried to cut out at least 3 of each style of tree in case I wanted to do them in groupings. This one was an easy one to cut out. Super easy to cut out, not a lot of detail. So I cut several of those. And then this one I thought was really cute. I love the tree that leans over. It reminds me of a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, sort of. So I cut out several of those. And then this one is like pom-pom trees. And I don't know what kind of tree that is, but it's a little pom-pom tree, I guess. So I cut out some of those. 2 of those they were too close to the bottom of the paper. And believe me, I didn't need to save paper because there was a lot of paper on this roll. And then this one, which is kind of a combination of the pom-pom tree and maybe that watercolor looking tree. So anyway, I cut those out. And so I have plenty of these little trees to use around in my journal. And then I had this other piece, bought this other roll of wrapping paper. And when I was looking at the wrapping papers, it was specifically, there's not a lot of stuff out here yet that's, you know, like Christmas napkins and stuff like that. They didn't have those out the other day. So I was looking in the wrapping paper for things that I could isolate and cut out. And so I cut this out, got a roll of this, and it's decent wrapping paper, so it's pretty easy to cut out. Then I cut it into bits and pieces and sections, and then I just sat and cut little things out. So this is what you do when you have trouble concentrating on other things. You just cut out little stuff. And so there's, I think I only cut out one letters of the word Christmas. So this is part of Christmas, but it was connected together, so I left it that way. Some of the letters I just, cut out. So I could spell different things, or I could put the letters back together in a wonky fashion in a journal page. Like there's the Christmas there, the end of Christmas. There's Mary, which has a little star on the M. Here's the beginning of Christmas. So I guess I'm just telling you that if you have trouble concentrating on anything, then, maybe the thing to do is just to get something and just start cutting stuff out and putting some little things in a little baggie. All right, let's see. I'm trying to find the rest of this. M-E-R-R. I know I cut out here a Y. Here's a Y. But if you isolate the letters, then when you lay them down, glue them down to something, you can rearrange them and they don't have to come out, the way that they're printed. C-H-R-I. Okay, here's an S. And somewhere in here is the letter I, but that's a hard one to spot when it's mixed up with all of this, with all of these letters. Here it is. There it is. Okay, so there's Christmas and there's Mary. And that way, I can rearrange the letters or spread them out over 2 pages or whatever. And then I took the other little the little bits and pieces. They were not connected very well, and so that meant I could isolate those and cut those out. So those will be fun and easy to use, because like I can take a little, make a little banner of reindeer. There were also some little tiny snowflakes. I mean, you really have to be kind of crazy to do that, but you can make your little forest. But these are a really good size for using in a journal. So don't discount wrapping paper. That's what I'm saying. Snow people. See, have a little banner of snow people going across the page. Anyway, and then there were other ones, other little Christmas gifts, Christmas packages. So again, I like having multiples of things like that, because then I can put them together on a page. So anyway, I just thought I would give you that as an idea. And I'll show you another thing here in a minute. Let me pick these all back up. The one thing you have when you do this kind of stuff, when you cut things out like this, is you have little tiny bits of pieces of paper everywhere. Hello, Carol. Okay, so I'm going to just pick these all up. So just because you can't concentrate on what you want to be concentrating on doesn't mean that you can't still accomplish something, right? Okay, and then I put all these little bitty ones in this little plastic bag because these little trees that I cut out, some of those are so fringy that I thought, no, they're all just going to get all tangled up. So I separated out the little bitty guys. Anyway, so that's an idea for you. Another thing that you want to look for is stamps, Christmas stamps. And I have a whole bag of stamps. And if you look at, I don't know if Hobby Lobby is still doing this, but they used to sell stamps, just bags of canceled postage. And sometimes you can find, there were quite a few Christmas stamps, and I think this was maybe 2 things of the stamps. I've had these for a long time. But what I did with those is, in this page that we did the little gnome, I took one of the Christmas trees and glued it on. This was a sticker from one of these little packages of stickers I showed you. And I put a hat on the top of the tree. These were also stickers that I put down here at the base of the tree, and I will probably decorate the tree a little bit. I don't want to get too carried away. And then these are some of the Christmas stamps that were in that bag of stamps. So I just put them up in the corner, just so this is the title page, and so I just wanted to have a little more collage and so forth on it. Okay. What else? Some other ideas. Some of these were things that I had from last year. And this was not. This was on the edge of a piece of fabric. And so I cut out those words. This is leftover from last year where I was making those, making that Christmas journal. And I was using a calendar. The paper is so thin. It's horrible as a calendar, but it's great for collage. There were seals that, you know, the Christmas stickers that somebody sent to Elton. And so I used those, or kept those. This was from a napkin. This was a napkin that I, you know, as we say, you use one and keep one to use for other things. These were back from a class that I did, and so I have some of the scraped paint and just bits and pieces of things, gold stars and stuff. This was grocery bag, brown grocery bag that I just scraped paint on, and so those are always good to have on hand just for color. This was a Christmas card. I love this idea with the houses, so I kept the front of the Christmas card, and so I thought I might use that. This was, I don't know what this was in. It says Hobby Lobby, but it clearly is part of the packaging of something. But it's a really good shape for a house, and it's a good example of wood grain. These were just little bits and pieces of poinsettias and snowflakes and stuff that I kept. These are Christmas cards that are great for cutting up and using or taking ideas from. Here's more of that calendar. that is it's just the worst paper. It's so thin and horrible, but it's got really good ideas. So I found that, and I had bought these new stickers that I was going to use in this journal this year. So I have those because I couldn't figure out why I didn't have any Christmas stickers. I'm not a great user of stickers, but the reason I couldn't find them is because everything I had was in with the other journal from last year. Oh yes, that's right. Okay, so I thought we would first of all just take this little guy and let me put him where you can see him, I hope. This is the little guy we painted the other day. And let's zoom in. Whoa, that's a little tight. That's a little tight. Okay, not so bad. Hopefully I will keep myself on the screen. Okay, let's outline this little guy, and then we will see if we can do some other stuff in this little journal before I need to I have to make a trip to yeah, my brain is not functioning real well today. Anyway, we'll get there. Okay, this is a brown, is this one the brown one? This is a brown Pigma Micron pen. And let's see, this one is also a brown one. One of them is sepia and one of them is brown, I think. Or they might both be sepia. I don't know. It's irrelevant. Anyway, we're going to use this and we're going to outline his little hat, which is kind of a cornucopia type basket sort of thing. And so we're going to see what we can do to kind of make it into a kind of wonky basket-ish kind of little hat. So how are you guys doing today? Have you had a good week, I hope? It's been a good week here, for sure. I just feel kind of out of energy. Feels like I can relax a little bit, I think. Okay, let's just kind of put some texture. Kind of make it look a little bit like a basket, maybe. Kind of woven-ish. Not trying to make it too particular, just kind of let it weave a little bit in and out. And this, believe it or not, is brown that I'm using. I think it's sepia, actually. Dorothy's resting after she's been clearing out clutter. She's been clutter clearing. Good for you, Dorothy. You have my sympathy. I'm going to have to stick something under this side of my book just to level it a little bit. That's better. Okay. So hopefully you can see, okay, as I continue to do this, I'm going to come up here. I'm just going to do this whole thing in this color, this sepia kind of color. And so this is a sunflower. And then I'm just going to put a few little pollen dots right around the center onto the petals, just detail. Okay, so there's our little sunflower. And then over here, this is a loopy flower. All right, so let's see. I'm trying to see where I'm just going to guess. Okay. Same thing, put a little bit of pollen dots around the center so it just looks a little bit. We don't want anything to look too meticulous here. All right, let's come down here for this little face and his little mustache. And his little beard. We'll do the wheat here in a little bit. We're going to do just his little jacket has some patches on it. And I'm working at a weird angle here, so that's why I have to keep stopping and looking at it to see see where I am and what exactly I'm drawing here. Letting the outlines be kind of loose and free, not too. He's got one really skinny leg, so we're going to just draw a line and let it act like it's a little fatter than it really is in the painting. Okay. And then we need to do the wheat. Now, to do the wheat, I'm going to have to really turn this so it's maybe a little hard for you to see. But I can't do this if it's not really at a good angle for my hand. So, it's all about me right now. Sorry about that. So we're going to get started by putting the top of the stem of wheat in. So I'm going to give myself the stems and then the top. And then I'm going to draw the wheat. And where is here is my little pattern. So you can see it's just kind of a suggestion of wheat. It's not necessarily, we're not trying to make it be real. Just kind of a suggestion. Does not have to be real at all. Okay, so we've got our little bouquet of wheat up there in his hat. And then he's carrying some stalks of wheat here. Stems of wheat, stalks of wheat, I don't know. So we're going to do the same thing here. Give ourselves the guideline of how it's going to look. Okay, and then we're going to do the same. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to give myself the suggestion of a bouquet of wheat. Let's call it that. And then just add some little lines, some little floofy things to suggest that it's wheat. Nobody cares that whether it's real or not. It just doesn't matter. It's just the idea. And then we've got one more hanging out here. The background I painted with some acrylic paint, so it had, because I wasn't about to paint in all these little pieces of wheat, so I just did a stripe of color. So there's our little bouquet of wheat, and then we're going to bring the stems down here. And the stems come down here. Okay, and then he's got these little patches on his little garment. And then of course you're going to have some little stitches to hold those patches on, because clearly the patches are there to mend his shirt, and so we're going to put a few little stitches on, so he's got his patches sewn on. He is kind of coming to life, isn't he? He's kind of cute. I gotta say, I kind of like this little guy. Do you like this little guy? I like his hat because it looks like I got the idea of a little basket there. That's what I was after. Okay. So there is our little guy from a distance. So after you do the outlining on them, they really come to life. If you don't do the outlines around them on this style of painting, they just look so fuzzy. So there he is. Okay, let's go through. I'll show you where the other ones are going to land. This is this little guy here. So he's going to live over here. Pay no attention to the blotches on the page. those will all get covered up. That's why I'm using acrylic paint. And then this little guy is going to, let's see if I can get him. You can see him. The patterns are on there pretty lightly. This is one where he's holding a candy cane. This is on December 1st. That's where I put him. Okay, and then I put this little fat guy, little fat one holding a poinsettia right there. He's holding a single poinsettia bloom. And I'll probably maybe add some other ones in here too. But I went ahead and put all the ones that I have patterns for so far, sketches for. And this little squatty guy I put right on this one. He's just kind of standing there, maybe with his hands in his pocket. I'm not sure. And I thought we might do some collage with some napkins today, so we might do a little bit of that. And this is the one that I took a drawing of it, drew a pattern from it, from the one that was in the other journal that was a bunch of pieces collaged together to make that little guy. So I have gnomes in here ready to go, ready to be painted or colored pencil or whatever. And I guess that was it. I guess that was where I stopped. I didn't put any more in. So I have them sketched out and ready to go, and this is ready to put the title page on. Okay, so let's come back here. And I thought what we would do possibly is collage some of these fall time kinds of things in here. So I thought we might do that. And so what I've done on these are paper napkins, and so what I've done is I've taken the backings. There are 2 layers of backing paper. I've taken those off. There's 4 expressions of give thanks. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to put a waterproof thing up here on my surface. And then I'm going to use just a little paintbrush. You can use a paintbrush, water brush that is self-contained with water in it, or you can use just a regular paintbrush and water. So I have a container of water, and I'm going to cut these images out with water. So once you get it wet, then the paper becomes compromised, shall we say, and it will separate because the water lets that happen. Okay, see it? All right, then I'm going to come all the way around. Now, if the water bleeds into places that you don't want it to go, you'll have to be a little bit careful when you go to pull the image out away from the background, because sometimes if that paper is wet, the napkin paper is wet, it becomes extremely fragile. And so you might have to be a little bit gentle when you pull it apart. But the water acts like a way to cut out your image without having to use scissors, and it really is gives you a nice soft edge to put in your artwork. And there you have it. So it's super easy to do that, and you're just doing it with water. It makes all those edges just really soft and feathery. And then when you put them down on paper, when you glue them onto your paper, it just kind of blends into your paper. So I'm going to do probably one. I may just go ahead and take them all, take the give thanks out all the way around. Let's see. We'll see if that's what I want to do. But you I go around it with the water for a little bit and then stop and pull that much apart, because it will immediately start drying, and so you might not be able to get it to pull apart if you wait too long, or the water will spread so much that it doesn't let you separate it out of the napkin very well. So are you all working on Christmas things already, or are you trying to avoid the whole subject? Or are you very excited about what Christmas is going to be this year? Or what do you have planned? How about that? What do you have planned for the holidays? Anything you want to chat about? Feel free. If you don't, that's fine too. We're going to be spending most of the holiday time this year with Elton's kids and granddaughter and family. So my schedule here will be kind of hit and miss a little bit, but I'll try and let you know what I'm doing or not doing. Okay, so there's another one. And if you want to get closer and get rid of more of the background, you can do that. It takes a little more work, but you can do that. Just use the fine brush and water, and you can actually do that. You're working on things for Christmas markets. Are they Christmas markets you go to in person, Carol? Your kids came from California. Oh, that's nice. When you see that the paper has changed color, then you know you can start pulling the background away from whatever you're trying to isolate. See how it's changed color there? But if you let it sit and let that water continue to work on the paper, it's going to spread. And you may not get the kind of cut or separation that you're hoping for. You're going to your niece's on Christmas Day. Aw, that's nice, Dorothy. That's nice. And Joan just finished all her Christmas cards. I don't know if any of you have seen Joan's Christmas cards that she makes, but I'm telling you, that Joan, she makes some extraordinary cards. She really does. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine how many hours she has in each card. They are literally works of art. They really are. Okay, let's see if we can pull this out. All right. And sometimes, you know, if you don't get the whole part of a letter, like you miss a little bit of a letter, it's okay. Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay, let's see if we can get one more out of here. That way I've got 4 chances to get this right. 4 chances. And if I don't get it right, you know what? I have another napkin. But you pull 2 directions. Be sure you have your one hand. This hand that's protecting the part that you don't want to rip. You kind of gotta put your fingers there and protect it. Otherwise you could get a little crazy and you might get a little crazy there and might not get what you want. Alright, so I'm going to keep my fingers over the text, the part that I'm trying to protect. I'm going to keep my fingers over that. And it's really a gentle pressure of pulling away with the opposite hand, away from the part that you're protecting with. In my case, I'm protecting it with my right hand and pulling away gently. The most pressure is with my left hand because I'm trying to protect these letters and keep the word and the letters intact. So let's see how we did on this one. It looks pretty good. All right, we got 4 of those. Now, if you wanted to, for example, let's say you wanted to cut out this big pumpkin here. So let's go around this big pumpkin and the stem. Now, you're not going to get it a smooth cut like you would with a pair of scissors, but that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to get a soft, feathered edge while you isolate the image. Okay, so there is the pumpkin, and I could actually maybe isolate this a little bit more. Let's see. Now it will kind of stick to your fingers, so you got to kind of be a little gentle. Okay. Then I'm going to come over here and see if I can keep the stem of the pumpkin, and looks like those leaves are kind of a part of that pumpkin, so we'll leave those alone. All right, let's see if we can get the stem. And then come over here. This is fiddly, fussy kind of stuff. But, you know, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. And then we'll put it on the page and we'll see what it looks like when we get it in the journal. Okay? All right, let's see if we can get around this. Okay, so there we have the pumpkin and the leaves, and this is like a sunflower. This is very pale. The image is very pale, so we'll see what it looks like when we get it on the page. All right, we'll stop with that fiddly stuff for the moment. And I have some golden matte medium. Good job, Barbara. Good job. Fresh cup of coffee. Yes. Yeah, Barbara's giving you a really good hint there about painting the background with white first. All right. Sorry, my voice is a little croaky at the moment. All right, let's take this little give thanks. I'm going to take this paper clip off. Maybe we can give this, trying to get this a little bit of weight somewhere so it'll keep my page open. There we go. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put a little bit of the golden matte medium, which I'm just about out of here. I'm going to put it up here. Another adhesive that's very good for napkins is Perfect Paper Adhesive, and I was going to use that and forgot. So we're going to use matte medium because that's what I have out. Now, you got to be super gentle with napkin and the pressure from the brush, because you saw how the paper kind of dissolved when I was pulling it apart. Well, it will do that same thing when you have the matte medium under it. You got to be really gentle. I don't care if it wrinkles a little bit, that's okay. But what I'm trying to do, my brush is pretty flat to the paper, and what I'm trying to do is just gently smooth out that napkin, just so that it gets all of the leaves. I mean, all the leaves. I'm looking at those things. So it gets all the pieces and edges down. That's what I'm after. Okay, now let's see about possibly putting this little image, this pumpkin, across here. We're going to see if we can weight this page just enough to get it to stay open. All right, so let's go from here all the way across. Okay. And I'm going to, because this has a straight edge across here, I'm trying to get the straight edge of that napkin along the bottom edge of the page. And then again, just gently brushing the matte medium, which is an adhesive. In this case, it's acting as an adhesive. You can use it for a variety of things. We're using it as an adhesive here. And gently laying that napkin down. And sometimes you get a little fold under or fold over of the napkin, which I did. And if you can't get it right away to unfold, you just got to give it up and let it do its thing, because there's not anything else you're going to be able to do about it. Okay, now I can breathe because now it's down there. Just goes right down on the page and it's blending in, and hopefully it will look okay when it dries. We'll find out. You know, sometimes you have to let things dry and then you go, yeah, that wasn't what I expected, but you know, it's okay. It's okay. All right. Now I have also I have this little page of flowers, and there's acorns, and all right, the acorn is really fiddly. However, we're going to try to cut one out, okay? We're going to try to cut it out because I have a little spot where I'd like to put the acorn. So let's see if we can get it to cut out for us. The good part is there's lots of acorns on here, so if this one doesn't work, we'll go for another one. I know this is fiddly stuff, but you know, this is the kind of stuff I like to do. I know. Okay. Okay, I wanted to cover up that, whatever that was on the S, and then I've got another one, another little goober over here that maybe maybe I'll cut out another little acorn to go over there, just because I like these little acorns. But the thing that's the thing, oh sorry guys. The thing that's nice about the water cutting, yeah, excuse me. The thing that's nice about the water cutting is that you can cut it out of the middle of the page. You don't have to do it on the edge. You can do it in the middle of the page. Okay, not my best work, but you know what? It's good enough. All right, and then let's see about one more little flower type thing up here. I'm just looking at this little thing of this napkin to see which one I want to isolate, and I think we'll just pull out this little orange one. When you get over to the edge of the napkin, they do this process where they combine the layers of the napkin to the backings, and so you'll get these little dimply sections in here. And if that bothers you, then you're going to have to work around that. It doesn't really bother me a whole lot, so I just sort of act like I don't see it. Okay. And so let's put this little flower over here. Just to have some color up here in the corner. And I'll come back and trim off the edges and that kind of stuff later. But it will all kind of go together because it's all from similar themed and colored napkins, right? All right, let's do, let's see, what else do I have? This one. And let's pull out a sunflower. So I'm going to take this sunflower right here in the middle. Hey, Amber, good to see you. Yeah, he turned out pretty cute. And that came from a restaurant where we had breakfast one morning, and they had taken down, they had this little tree by where you pay for your food, and they had decorated it with all kinds of Halloween stuff. And then we were in there the other day, and they had taken all the Halloween things off and had put Thanksgiving things on it. And this little gnome, it was a little plastic, like a plexiglass kind of cutout, like it was an image of a gnome that was glued onto plexiglass. So it had a little bit of a three-dimensional look about it. And that's what I saw, that little gnome, and I thought, that is so stinking cute. So I took a picture of it, and then I drew it from the picture. Okay, so let's come down here and see how this corner of this page is real yellow? That's going to work to our advantage with this yellow sunflower. Let's put it this way. So that yellow of the page is going to work with us. and make the yellow of the napkin, which is very transparent or translucent, very translucent. It's going to intensify the yellow and brighten it. So we'll just have a little sunflower there. And then maybe we'll go back to this other napkin and grab out another flower. So we'll make our own little bouquet in this corner here. So we're just going to isolate this flower right here, cutting it out with water. Again, it's fiddly, you know, cutting things out with water from such fragile paper as a single layer of napkin. It's fiddly. Might not be your thing. I think it's always good to know how to do something, even if you don't want to do it. Or it might not be the thing that you want to do, maybe. But it's good to know how. Do you see how soft those edges become? And then they just blend. They just blend into the background. So I'm going to let this one kind of hang off the edge, and then I'll cut it. Trim it up after it's dry. There we go. Just be gentle when you brush out that matte medium. Be super gentle. And then we'll need one more little we need one more little flower. I think we're going to use this let's use this kind of dark red. Almost a maroon kind of color. So let's pull it out. Now I'm not going to do quite this much fussy cut or, you know, collage work and painting and all that. I'm not going to do that on every page, believe me. But sometimes it's nice to just really put everything into it on a page here or there, you know? All right, let's put this one up here. So it's nice to have a page here or there that's really, you kind of went above and beyond, you know? Okay. Now, as we look up, get a pair of scissors. We'll use these. I'm going to come up here on the edge and just trim this up. This is dry enough that I can do that. You can also use a nail file, like one of those one of these kinds of nail files. It's very soft, but it still is sandpaper-like, in that you can sand against the edge of your book once it's dry. This is not quite This is not bone dry, so that's why I'm having to do it with scissors. Oh, maybe I could get that off. I may have to put a little thing down here, but that will let you see what it looks like once it has begun to dry up there. And this spot right here on beside the pumpkin bothers me, and so, you know, if that's the case, then I'm going to put something over it because I can't get it off, so I'm going to put something over it. In that case, I'm going to put a leaf over it. So I'm just looking at these leaves I have here. So I'm going to cut out a little dark leaf because this is kind of a dark little section in the collage area. So I'm going to cut out this little leaf and we'll see what I think once I get it separated from the napkin. I think that'll work. So let's see. Let's see if we can make it work, huh? Okay, let's let that we'll let that dry and see what it looks like, and then cut off this little stuff down here. And maybe you think we need one more leaf? I think we do. I think we do. Let's we've got one right here that I think I want to cut out, which is this yellow leaf right here, which is right in the same area where that other leaf was that I just took out. I should have taken both at the same time, but I did not. So let's do it. And let's see if we can get it out in more or less one piece. I think I just lost the tip of it. You can't be in a hurry doing this. I mean, you can try, but it's probably not going to go well. All right, let's see. I think we can work with this one. Let's try it. Whoop. Too much matte medium. The danger of working in the book, in the cover, when you have the cover of the book already done, is that you may slop some matte medium or something onto a different page, and you gotta be prepared to work with it, and keep an eye on subsequent pages so that if you need to, you can You can quickly mop up the mess you might have made. Okay, I think we're working out here okay. This looks like it's pretty dry, so let's trim up the edges here. Okay. And then these little paint things that are hanging out, they're going to have to dry just a little bit more. Okay, any questions so far about what I'm doing? Let's see. Bye, Joan. Good to see you. Okay, so you think it's looking okay? All right, here is the give thanks. This is Thanksgiving Day. So we have our little gnome, we have give thanks, we have room here to put photos and some journaling and so forth, so we'll be good. All right, just because I hate the way things hang off pages, I'm going to take a chance of cutting it off when it's wet. But that's me, because I don't like things hanging off the edge of pages. Because that's just me. Okay, so now we've got the spot over here that was on the pumpkin is taken care of, and we've balanced it with another little leaf over here on this side. Hopefully this will dry out a little bit, and if that remains light in color, I'll come in with I'll touch it up with some paint or something. But anyway, that's going to take care of that piece, and so I'm going to put my matte medium away and stick my brush in water so it doesn't dry up and get horrible for me. These little pieces that I cut out of the napkin, I will just put in my envelope where I was cutting out trees and little images and stuff in here. So I've cut out different things. So I'll put those in there. When you have bits and pieces like of napkin like this, which I have turned into Swiss cheese now, then I just try to fold it back up, and there's still a lot of good imagery on there so I can use, so I just try to fold it back up. Same thing with these. Once you get them separated from their backing papers, they get even more fragile, so you have to be aware of that. So just fold them up really nicely, talk to them very sweetly, thank them for being so good to work with. They're going to be nicer to you if you're sweet to them. I can promise you. Okay, so here's our little title page gnome with some Christmas stamps. This is greeting paper, or wrapping paper, sorry, wrapping paper. These are stickers, and so that's ready to put whatever lettering that I want to put on here. And then this is going to start on Thanksgiving Day, which is why I did as much as I did on this one. If you want to hang around with me, I'll see if I can get this little gnome painted in. If you don't want to hang around with me, that's perfectly fine. But I think I will go ahead and put that little base coat, that little gnome in. If you want to hang around, you're welcome to do that. I'm going to give this just a little bit of dry with the heat gun, heat tool. And I will still put a piece of wax paper or parchment paper in between these pages until this is just bone dry. It may have the tendency to stick together, and that's not good. So I've got just a little piece of wax paper, so I'll stick that in there. Okay. All right, let's go over to the next gnome, which is right here. And I'm going to go ahead and paint this little guy if you want to hang out. Alrighty, so let me get my palette paper, and there's plenty of room on here to use this. Also, if you work with acrylic paint and you're using one of these pieces of palette paper, you can, if the paint was in puddles to start with, you can actually pick off most of those puddles. You can't pick off these places where I've thinned the paint. I can't get rid of those. But that allows me to have use of this paper again, and you know, there's no point in wasting it, right? Okie doke. Let's you guys tell me, what colors do you think that I should paint this gnome? Any ideas? If you have an idea, let me know what your thought is. He has a hat, and he has like a robe, and his little shoes. Oh, you found it at Five Below? Ah. Blues and pinks, Amber says. Okay, let's paint his little face. And the face color that I use is this. It is called Santa's Flesh. That is literally, really and truly, that is the color. And it's the color that I prefer for Caucasian flesh tone. I'm looking for my brushes. Just hang on just a second. Here they are. Okay. He's got just a tiny little bit of face showing there. When I do this, and I'll zoom in here a little bit more so you can see a little better. There he is. There he is, right there. Okay? So when I do this, I just grab the straight paint. Now this is paint straight out of the little bottle, so it's very creamy, which works really well. And I don't need this to be super thick. Everything is going to be influenced by what is below it, just like with the napkins. If I wanted these colors to be 100% accurate, I would have to base coat this in white to start with. And I like having the influence of whatever is below. So in this case, there were pinks and reds that were on the page, and some metallic red. I don't know whether you can see the metallic here a little bit. See it? Yeah. So I like having that little surprise of whatever is going to happen under there. It kind of peeks through every once in a while and changes the color of the paint a little bit. All right, so we've got his little face base coated. Base coating means to fill something in with solid color. And so that's what I'm doing, is just filling in with solid color. And then his little beard and mustache, I'm going to use, what color is this? Vintage white. So I'm just going to use vintage white, except it's not open. Alright, let me get this open, and then we'll use it. I was thinking I already had used it, but I have not. This is a folk art paint. I have not used this one before. Folk art matte. It is vintage white. So we're going to use it. I was looking for ivory white, or light ivory, the other day. Couldn't find it, so I found this one. I thought, well, this looks like it might be as close to the light ivory as I can get. Hey, Starla. Bye, Carol. Good luck with all your prep work. She is preparing for various markets. So we're going to do his little mustache. Solid color. Now, by solid color, I just mean a smooth coat of paint. If there's some of the color from below that kind of comes up through this, that's okay. And even though his mustache is on top of his beard, I still paint each section on its own. In other words, I don't cross the lines because I try to leave each shape independent so that I know exactly where the mustache lines are, exactly where the nose line is, exactly where the beard is. Because the lines are not very dark on the pattern. I try to keep the lines of the various pieces and parts of this little guy, try to keep them as separate or as light as possible. And so if you start painting across the lines, then sometimes it's really easy to lose the shape. And if you want that shape to be, if you want to maintain the integrity of the shape, then you're going to have to paint each shape individually. And I hope that makes some kind of sense. If it doesn't, you just have to say, you know, that just didn't make any sense at all, Barb. Sorry, but... So you can see this little crack between the mustache and the beard. That's what I'm talking about. I didn't paint across the line, across the pattern line. That way I maintain exactly where everything was drawn to begin with. Sometimes I'll get an edge in the paint, you know, where I had too much paint on the brush. And when that happens, you just have to kind of smooth it out. Smooth out that edge that you, if you don't smooth it out, it's going to stay there. And it's going to make a bump in the paint. This is, I'm going to reshape his mustache a little bit right there. Now, just because the pattern is on there in a specific way, that does not mean that you don't have the liberty to reshape things. It's okay. And then we have a little teeny tiny piece of his beard right there. It's above the mustache. Next to his face back there. Things, little details like that, believe it or not, are important. Yeah, they are important. Okay. All right, we have his mustache and his beard and his little face. So we have his hat, his garment, and his shoes. So we're going to look at what colors I have out here. What color did I use back here? I used purple and green. Okay. All right. Because I can't go too dark, otherwise you have no place to go in the shading, we're going to paint his little hat this aqua color. This little hat is coming over his little nose, or his big nose. Okay. Try to keep out of his beard with my hand. If you need to pick up just the teeniest little bit of water on the corner of your brush and blend it in with the paint that you're picking up, sometimes that will make your paint flow more smoothly off your brush. Okay, so there's his little hat. And I'm just looking at what I have here on my desk so I don't have to get up and get more paint. Two hairs and some air. Okay, then I'm going to pick up this pale yellow green. It's called green tea. It's this color, green tea. And I'm going to just mix some of the aqua in with it. So it's not going to be just a totally different color. It's going to be kind of a combination. Like so. And that's going to be his little garment thing, whatever this is that gnomes wear. I'm not sure what this is that he's got, I'm not sure what kind of frock he is sporting. But it's kind of a funny little outfit he's got going on. It's like a long shirt. I let the long side of the angled brush do most of the work for me. Now in this tiny little area between his feet, that I'm going to have to do with a tinier brush. I can't get in there with this bigger brush. I kind of like this color combination. And smoothing at the bottom here. And then I'm going to smooth this up right here, coming right next to his beard. The better, and I say this over and over and over, the better job you do in this stage, the base coat stage, the better off your finished product is going to be. So it is worth taking the time to be pretty precise with your undercoating, your base coat. It will make the shading and the finishing color, whatever you do in that step, so much easier. Okay. Alrighty, and now I have this little area between his feet that needs to be filled in this same color. So I'm going to use a little tiny round brush. It's actually the one I was using before to cut out the napkin images. With this little tiny round brush to fill that in. Okay, that's pretty good. And now we're going to fill in his shoes. And his little shoes we're going to do with raw sienna, which is a golden brown. You like the colors? Good. I think it'll look good on this color background. Let me go back to the brush I was using to fill in, paint him, the rest of him, other than the round brush, so that little flat angled brush. But I got to get most of that paint out of it and dry it off. So here's the brush, so it looks pretty good. Make sure it's dried off so you're not carrying a bunch of water into that area. Now I have two very different size feet going on here, so we're going to have to rectify that. My thought originally was, well, one foot's behind the other one, but even if his foot was behind the other one, it wouldn't be that much smaller. So we're going to have to reshape his little shoe a little bit. And painting on cold press watercolor paper is not flat. The surface is not flat, and so you have to just take your time to fill in all the little divots in the surface of the paper. Okay, there's that one. Okay, let's do, I've got to get this where I can get the angle of my brush so I can get to it and keep the pages of the book from bouncing on me. And I'm going to paint the bottom of the shoe. And then we'll see what we need to do to reshape things if we need to. Okay, that works for me. That works for me. Now, I think what we're gonna do here, I'm thinking while we're chatting. While you're chatting amongst yourselves, I'm looking for a paint color here. I'll be right back. Let me look on my paint cart. All right, I don't know which one of these has any paint in it that's worth using, so we're gonna see what we got here. I have alizarin crimson and Napa red. Here's the alizarin crimson. They're very similar in color. I'm gonna see if there's any paint in these bottles. There might not be. Ugh, I can't even get the lid off. Let's see if there's anything in here. Yeah, a little bit. Okay. This one is alizarin crimson. So what I'm going to do, let me try switching cameras here to see if you guys can see it. And let me come in. Okay, I know that looks very light compared to what you've been looking at, but it's not quite as light as it appears on this camera, but it's a better angle for me to paint at. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some water and a liner brush, and I'm making this into a paintable, almost an inky consistency with a liner brush. And putting a little trim around the bottom of his little whatever it is. And then let's do some little trim stuff here at the bottom of his hat, in a red that kind of goes with what's on the page here. And can't really put it on his sleeves because his hands are behind his back. So we'll let that be. Okay, and then I wanted to, sorry, I'm just trying to think out loud here. Thinking out loud is dangerous business. Good for you, Dorothy. You're all ready to go. That is good. And then I'm going to use a yellow and a stylus. And I promise I'll give you a good view of this here in a minute. And then we're going to have to drop down to a tiny one. Let's see if this one will do any. That one's too tiny. I'm looking for another stylus that has a small tip on it. Yeah, that one's okay, I gotta find something littler to do some dots with. Hold on a minute. All right, let's try this. So we put some dots. Okay, let's try this. Skewer. Well, picked up a hair or something. That's not good when you pick up a hair on the end of your tool. Okay, now we got a tiny little thing over here. Ooh-wee. Okay, I think we got it. Whew. My back couldn't breathe there for a minute. Okay. So that's what I was doing. I was putting little dots on the either side of that. That's a red trim that you're seeing there. And I'm thinking. This is what happens when you think and you start doing this trim stuff like this. Let's just go again. Yeah, I like that better. Okay. I'm only going to do one line down here in the bottom of his little, yeah, that's all. I'm not going to put it on the bottom of the tail of his hat. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone for the moment, and then I will dot the same thing on that little trim there. Let's dry it just a little bit. Okay, let's dot this little trim on that I just added on his hat, and then we're going to call it a day. Okay, there we go. We're going to call it done. We're going to call him ready to dry. Once he gets dry, then we can do all the shading stuff. And so there he is. Okay. I know that trim looks really dark. It's actually red. So there he is, and there's what the page that he's going to be on is definitely in the reds and all of that. I didn't give him a place to stand. That's no good. He's got to have a place to stand before we go, because otherwise he'll fall off the book, won't he? He'll just fall right off the book. You can't have that. All right, let's see how we do here. He's got to have a place to stand, otherwise it's no good. And I'm just going to let that fade out to nothing over there. All right, now he's got a place to stand, so now he's okay. Now he's all right. I can leave that alone, I think. Okay, there he is. So what we did today, the turquoise and the green, the turquoise was sea breeze. The green was green tea. Sea breeze and green tea, both Americana colors. So what we did today is we just, I showed you what I had done on this page. We didn't do anything on that. On this one, we did the collage. So we put some napkin collage work here and here and here. So perhaps, all right, we made it all the way to this part, and it decided it wasn't, things were not gonna cooperate, so hang on a second. So here is what we did so you can see it a little bit differently. So we finished this guy, did some napkin collage, gave me a foundation for doing photos and so forth. So page 1, page 2, we didn't do anything there, and then this is our little guy that we just base coated in and gave him a place to stand. Okay? Okay. That's it. Oh, my chat absolutely flat went away. Store chat. Hold on. I don't know. Things get a little wonky sometimes around here. Yep. Sometimes things get a little wonky around here. The gremlins come out to play. All right, that's going to be it. I will be back on Monday night at 7 Eastern. And I will see you then. I need to go make a trip from here to go pick something up. And so with that, I'm going to say goodbye. And as always, do something nice for somebody else. Do something unexpected and nice. And I will see you before you know it. So remember to get creative today. You know it's easy. Can't even get, tell you, the gremlins are at work right now. Can't even get the stream shut off. I'll be back on Monday evening. I'll see you then. Remember to get creative today. You know it's easy. Do something nice for somebody else. I'll see you later. Bye.